12. Leo. The dwarfs didn't try very hard to lose him, which made Leo suspicious. They stayed just at the edge of his vision, scampering over red-tilted rooftops, knocking over window boxes, whooping and hollering, and leaving a trail of screws and nails from Leo's tool belt. Almost as if they wanted Leo to follow them. He jogged after them, cursing every time his trousers fell down. He turned a corner and saw two ancient stone towers jutting in the sky. Side by side, much taller than anything else in the neighbourhood, maybe medieval watchtowers, they leaned in different directions like gear shifts on a race car. The Kirkhope scaled the tower on the right. When they reached the top, they climbed around the back and disappeared. Had they got inside? Leo could see some tiny windows at the top, covered with metal grates, but he doubted those would stop the dwarfs. He watched for a minute, but the Kirkhopes didn't reappear, which meant Leo had to get up there and look for them. Great, he muttered. No flying friend to help, to carry him up. The ship was too far away to call for help. He could rig the Archimedes sphere into some sort of flying device, maybe, but only if he had his tool belt, which he didn't. He scanned the neighbourhood, trying to think. Half a block down, a set of double glass doors opened, and an old lady hobbled out carrying plastic shopping bags. A grocery store. Leo patted his pockets. To amazement, he still had some euro notes from Rome. The stupid dwarfs had taken everything except his money. He ran for the store as fast as his zipless trousers allowed. He scoured the Aeschylus, looking for some things he could use. He didn't know the Italian for hello. Where are dangerous chemicals, please? But that was probably just as well. He didn't want to end up in an Italian jail. Fortunately, he didn't need to read labels. He could tell from just picking up a toothpaste tube whether it contained potassium nitrate. He found charcoal. He found sugar and baking soda. The store sold matches and bug spray and aluminium foil. Pretty much everything he needed, plus a laundry cord he could use as a belt. He added some Italian junk food to the basket, just to some sort of disguise his more suspicious purchase. They dumped his stuff at the till. A wide-eyed checkout lady asked him some questions he didn't understand, but he managed to pay, get a bag, and race out. He ducked into the nearest doorway where he could keep an eye on the towers. He started to work, summoning fires to dry out materials and do a little cooking that otherwise would have taken days to complete. Every once in a while, he sneaked a look at the tower. There was no sign of the dwarfs. Leo could only hope they were still up there. Making his arsenal took just a few minutes. That was that good. But it felt like hours. Jason didn't show, but he was still tangled at the Neptune fountain or scouring the streets looking for Leo. No one else from the ship came to help. Probably it was taking them a long time to get all those pink rubber bands out of the coach Hedge's hair. That meant Leo had only himself, his bag of junk food, and a few highly improvised weapons made from sugar and toothpaste. Oh, and the Archimedes sphere, that was kind of important. He hoped he hadn't ruined it by filling it with chemical powder. He rounded the tower and found the entrance. He started up the winding stairs inside. only to be stopped at a ticket booth by some caretaker, who yelled at him in Italian. "Seriously," Leo asked. "Look, man, you've got dwarfs in your belfry." "I'm the exterminator." He held up the can of bug spray. "See? Exterminator. Molto buono. Squirt, squirt, ah." He pantomimed a dwarf melting in terror, which for some reason the Italian didn't seem to understand. The guy just held out his palm for money. "Dang man," he grumbled. "I spent all my cash on the homemade explosives and whatnot." He dug around his grocery bag. "Don't suppose you accept whatever these are." Leo held up a yellow and red bag of junk food called Frozies. He assumed there was some kind of potato chips. To his surprise, the caretaker shrugged and took the bag of the back. "I want tea." Leo kept climbing, but he met a mental note to stop up on Fonzie's. Apparently they were better than cash in Italy. The stairs went on and on and on. The whole tower seemed to be nothing but an excuse to build a staircase. He stopped on a landing, slumped against a narrow barred window, trying to catch his breath. He was sweaty like crazy, and his heart thumped against his ribs. Stupid Kirkopes. Leo figured that as soon as he reached the top, they would jump away before he could use his weapons, but he had to try. He kept climbing. Finally, his legs feeling like overcooked noodles. He reached the top. The room was about the size of a broom closet, with barred fort windows on all four walls. Shoved in the corners were sacks of treasured, shiny goodies spilling all over the floor. Leo spotted Piper's knife, an old leather-bound book, and a few interesting-looking mechanical devices, and enough gold to give Hazel's horse a stomachache. At first he thought the dwarfs had left. Then he looked up. Akbon and Pastelos were hanging upside down from the rafters by their chimp feet playing anti-gravity poker. When they saw Leo, they threw their cards like confetti and broke out in applause. "I told you he'd do it!" Akmon shrieked in delight. Pastelos shrugged and took off one of his gold watches and handed it to his brother. "You win. I didn't think he was that dumb." They both dropped to the floor. Akmon was wearing Leo's tool belt. He was so close that Leo had to resist the urge to lunge for it. Pastelos straightened his cowboy hat and kicked open the grate on the nearest windows. What should we make him climb next, brother? The dome of San Luca? Leo wanted to throttle the dwarfs, but he forced a smile. "Oh, that sounds fun, but before you guys go, you forget something shiny." "Impossible," Ackerman scowled. "It was very thought through." "You sure?" Leo held up his grocery bag. Dwarfs inched closer. As Leo had hoped, the curiosity was so strong they couldn't resist. Look, Leo brought out his first weapon, a lump of dried chemicals wrapped in aluminum foil, and lit it with his hand. He knew enough to turn away when it popped, but the dwarfs were staring right at it. Toothpaste, sugar, and bug spray weren't as good as Apollo's music, but they made a pretty decent flashbang. The Caracops wailed and clawing at their eyes. They stumbled towards the window, but Leo set off his homemade firecrackers, slapping them around the dwarfs' bare feet to keep them off balance. Then, for good measure, Leo turned the dial on his archidemisphere, which was unleashed a plume of foul white fog that filled the room. Leo wasn't bothered by smoke. Being immune to fire, he stood in smoky bonfires. Sounds dangerous. endured dragon breath and cleaned out blazing forages plenty of times. While the dwarfs were hacking and wheezing, he grabbed his tool belt from Akmon, calmly summoned some bungee cords and tied up the dwarfs. My eyes! Akmon coughed. My tool belt! My feet are on fire! Pastelos wailed. Not shiny at all. After making sure they were securely bound, Leo dragged the Keracopes into one corner and began riffling through their treasures. He retrieved Piper's daggers and a few of his prototype generators and a dozen other odds. At the end of the dwarves and had taken from the Argo too. Please, Sir Admiral wailed. Don't take our shinies! We'll make you a deal, Pastelos suggested. We'll cut you in for 10% if you let us go. Afraid not, Leo muttered. It's all mine now. 20%. Just then, thunder boomed overhead. Lightning flashed at the bars on the nearest window, bursting the sizzling melted stubs of iron. Jason flew in like Peter Pan, electricity sparkling around him, and his gold sword steaming. Leo whistled appreciatively. Man, you just wasted an awesome entrance. Jason frowned. He noticed the hog-tied Keracopes. What the? All by myself, Leo said. I'm special that way. How did you find me? The smoke, Jason managed. And I heard popping noises. Were you having a gunfight in here? Something like that. A gunfight? Nah. They tossed him Piper's dagger, then kept rummaging through the bags of dwarf shinies. He remembered what Hazel had said about finding a treasure that would help them with the quest, but he wasn't sure what he was looking for. There were coins, gold nuggets, jewelry, paper clips, foil wrappers, cufflinks. Wow, that's a lot. He kept coming back to a couple of things that didn't seem to belong. One was an old bronze navigation device like an astrolabe from a ship. It was badly damaged and seemed to be missing some pieces, but Leo still found it fascinating. Take it, Pastelos offered. Odysseus made it, you know. Take it and let us go. Odysseus? Jason asked like the Odysseus. Yes, Pastelos squeaked. Made it when he was an old man in Ithaca. One of his last inventions, and he stole it. How does it work, Leo asked. Oh, it doesn't, everyone said. Something about a missing crystal. He glanced at his brother for help. The biggest what if, Pastelos said. Should have taken a crystal. That's what he kept muttering in his sleep. The night crystal. Pastelos shocked. No idea what it meant, but the shiny is yours. Can we go now? Leo wasn't sure why he wanted the astrolabe. He was obviously broken and still didn't get the sense that this was what Hecate meant them to find. Still, he slipped it into one of his tool belt's magic pockets. He turned to the other strange piece of the loot. The leather-bound book. Its title was in gold leaf, in a language Leo couldn't understand. But nothing else kept the book seemed shiny. He didn't figure the Keracopes for big readers. What's this? He wagged it at the dwarfs, who were still teary-eyed from the smoke. Nothing, Ackerman said. Just a book. It had a pretty gold cover, so we took it from him. Him, Leo asked. Ackerman and Pastelos exchanged nervous looks. Mine are good, Pastelos said. In Venice, really. It's nothing. Venice? Jason frowned at Leo. Isn't that where we're supposed to go next? Yeah. Leo examined the book. He couldn't read the text. It had lots of illustrations, different plants, a picture of the sun, a team of oxygen, putting a cart. He didn't see how any of that was important, but if the book had been stolen from a minor god in Venice, the next place Hecate had told them to visit, then this had to be where they were looking for. Where exactly can we find this minor god? Leo asked. No, Almond shrieked. You can't take it back to him. If he finds out we stole it, he'll destroy you. Okay, Jason guessed, which is what we'll do if you don't tell us, and we're a lot closer. He pressed the point of his sword against Akmon's furry throat. Okay. The dwarf shrieked. La Casa Nera, Caliph Fezura. Is that an address, Leo asked? The dwarfs both nodded vigorously. Please don't tell him what we stole past the space. He isn't nice at all. Who is he? Jason asked. What god? I can't say, Pastor stomach. You'd better, Leo warned. No, Pastor, said Miss Fee. I mean, I really can't say. I can't pronounce it. It's too hard. Akmon said. Trotto. Too many syllables. They both burst into tears. They didn't know if the Caracops was telling them the truth. It was hard to stay mad at them at weeping dwarfs. So no matter how annoying and badly dressed they were, Jason lowered his swords. What do you want with them, Leo? Send them to the towers? Please, no, Akmon wailed. It might take us weeks to come back. Assuming Gaia even lets us, she controls the doors of death now. She'll be very cross with us. Leo looked at the dwarfs. She'd thought of a lot of monsters, but before he had never felt bad about dissolving them. But this was different. He had to admit he sort of admired these little guys. They played cool pranks and liked shiny things. Leo could relate. Besides, Percy and Annabeth were into towers right now, hopefully still alive, trudging towards the doors of death. The idea of sending these twin monkey boys there to face the same nightmarish problems, well, it didn't seem right. He imagined Gaia laughing at his weakness. A demigod too soft-hearted to kill monsters. He remembered his dream about Camp Half-Blooded ruins. Greek and Roman bodies were littering the fields. He remembered Octavian speaking with the earth goddess's voice. The Romans move east from New York. They advance on your camp, and nothing can slow them down. Nothing can slow them down, Leo mused. I wonder. What? Jason asked. Leo looked at the dwarfs. I'll make you a deal. Akmon's light eyes lit up. 30%. We'll leave you all the treasure, Leo said, except the stuff that belongs to us, and the astrolabe and this book, which we'll take back to the dude in Venice. But don't destroy us, Peslos wailed. We won't say where we got it, Leo promised, and we won't kill you. We'll let you go free. Leo, Jason asked nervously. Akmon squealed with delight. I knew you were as smart as curious. I will call you Black Bottomless Sequel. Yeah, no thanks, Leo said. But in return for us sparing your lives, you have to do something for us. I'm going to send you somewhere to steal from people. House them. Make life hard for them any way you can. You have to follow my directions exactly. You have to swear on the written fire. We swear, Percy said. Stealing from people is our speciality. I love harassment, Akmon agreed. going, Leo grinned. Ever heard of New York? Chapter 13. Percy Jackson. Chapter 13. Percy had taken his girlfriend on some romantic walks before. This wasn't one of them. They followed the river Phlegethon, stumbling over the glassy black terrains, jumping crevices and hiding behind rocks. Whenever the vampire girls slowed in front of them, it was tricky to stay far enough back to avoid them, to avoid getting spotted, but close enough to keep Kelly and her comrades in view through the dark, hazy air. The heat from the river baked Percy's skin. Every breath was like inhaling sulfur-scented fiberglass. When they needed a drink, the best they could do was sip some refreshing liquid of fire. Don't think that was nice. Yep, Percy definitely knew how to show a girl a good time. At least Annabeth's ankle seemed to have healed. She was hardly limping at all. Her various cuts and scraps had faded. She tied her blonde hair back with a strip of denim tore from her jeans. And in the fiery light of the river, her grey eyes flickered. Despite being beat up, sooty and dressed like a homeless person, she looked great to Percy. So what if they were into Taurus? So what if they stood slim chance of surviving? He was so glad they were together, he had the ridiculous urge to smile. Physically, Percy felt better too. Though his clothes looked like he'd been through a hurricane of broken glass, he wasn't thirsty and scared out of his mind. Though he wasn't going to tell Annabeth that. He'd shaken off the hopeless cold of the river Coisitus, and as the nasty firewater tasted, it seemed to keep him going. Time was impossible to judge. They trudged along, following the river as it cut through the harsh landscapes. Fortunately, the Impusia weren't exactly speedwalkers. They shuffled on the mismatched bronze and donkey legs, hissing and fighting with each other, apparently in no hurry to reach the doors of death. Once the demons sped up and up in excitement and swarmed something that looked like a beached carcass on the river bank, Percy could tell what it was. A fallen monster, an animal of some kind. The Impusia attacked it with a relish. When the demons moved on, Percy and Annabeth reached the spot and found nothing left except a few splintered bones and glistening stairs, drying in the heat of the river. Percy had no doubt the Impusia would devour demigods with the same gusto. Come on! He led Annabeth gently away from the scene. We don't want to lose them. As they walked, Percy thought about the first time he'd fought with the Impusia Kelly at good high school freshman orientation. When he and Rachel Elizabeth Dare got trapped in the band hall at the time. At the time, it had seemed to be like a hopeless situation. Now he'd given anything to have problems. Here's simple. He'd been in the mortal world then. Here there was nowhere to run. Wow! When he started looking back on the war with Kronos as the good old days, that was sad. He kept hoping things would get better for Annabeth and him, but their lives just got more and more dangerous, as if the three fates up there were spinning their futures with barbed wires instead of thread, just to see how much two demigods could tolerate a ridge. When Percy and Annabeth caught up, they found themselves at the edge of another massive cliff. The river Phlegethon spilled over the side in jagged tides of fiery waterfalls. The demon ladies were picking up their way down the cliff, jumping from ledge to ledge like mountain goats. Percy heard crept in his throat. Even if he and Annabeth reached the bottom of the cliff alive, they didn't have much to look forward to. The landscape below them was a bleak ash. Suddenly, bleak ash, grey plain bristling with black trees like insect hair. The ground was pocked with blisters. Every once in a while, a bubble would swell and burst, disgorging a monster like a larva from an egg. Suddenly Percy wasn't hungry anymore. All the newly formed monsters were crawling and hobbling in the same direction, towards a bank of black fog that swallowed the horizon like a storm front. The Phlegethon flowed in the same direction until about halfway across the plain, where it met another riverbank of black water. Remember the Cocytus? Two floods combined in a steaming, boiling cataract, and flowed on as one towards the black fog. The longer Percy looked into the storm of darkness, the less he wanted to go there. It could be hiding anything: an ocean, a bottomless pit, an army of monsters. But if the doors of death were in that direction, it was their only chance to get home. He peered over the edge of the cliff. "Wish we could fly," he muttered. Annabeth rubbed her arms. "Remember Luke's winged shoes? I wonder if they're still down here somewhere." Percy remembered. Those shoes had been cursed to drag their wearer into Taurus. They'd almost taken the best friend Grover. I'd settle for a hang glider." "Maybe not a good idea," Annabeth pointed. Above them, dark winged shapes spiraled in and out of the blood-red clouds. "Furries?" Percy wondered. "Or some other kind of demon," Annabeth said. "The Taurus has thousands, including the kind that eats hang gliders," Percy guessed. "Okay, so we climbed." He couldn't see the imposia below them anymore. They disappeared behind one of the ridges, but that didn't matter. It was clear where he and Annabeth needed to go, like all the maggot monsters crawling over the plains of the Taurus. They should head towards the dark horizon. Percy was just brimming with enthusiasm for that.